Buongiorno a tutti, benvenuti
Good
in
morning,
questo
everybody,
primo webinar del 2026 insieme. Oggi
to
parleremo e
welcome
esploreremo
to our
insieme
first
il mondo
webinar
del
together.
colore.
Today we are going
Poi
to
nei
talk
prossimi
about
webinar andremo a sottolineare
color,
ogni
and
componente del colore, che sia ECHOS
we
Color,
are going
che sia poi
to
ECHOS Light e che
talk
sia anche
about all the
parte della
different
colorazione.
types of color,
Partiamo
ECOS
in
color, ECOS
generale
light,
dalla linea
as well as
ECHOS Line, che appunto è
lifting
definita
products.
anche
But
Vegan
let's
Way.
start from
ECHOS
ECOS
Line è
line, which
nata
is
nel
defined as the vegan way.
1998
ECOS
e da lì
line
in
was
poi
established in
ha subito diversi
1998, and
cambiamenti, ma
starting from that
soprattutto
moment, it has
miglioramenti,
changed
perché
different
appunto la
times. It has been
filosofia che
improved
vogliamo andare a
lots of
ricreare,
times
che siamo
because the
riusciti a
philosophy
ricreare fin da
that we
subito, è
wanted
la
to
Smart
create
Beauty
starting from
per
the
un impatto
beginning is the
ridotto.
so-called
Infatti
smart
parliamo
beauty for a
sempre di
reduced impact.
ecosostenibilità,
And indeed,
perché
we
siamo
always talk
riusciti
about
ad avere delle formule
eco-sustainability
certificate al
because
100%
we
vegane,
managed
che
to
sono
have
davvero 100%
formulas
super
that are
affidabili,
certified
perché hanno gli
100%
ingredienti
vegan, and they are
biodegradabili e
super
soprattutto
reliable at
hanno
100% because they
l'ampiezza
contain
necessaria per riuscire
biodegradable
a
ingredients,
ricoprire
and they
ogni
have the
esigenza di
right
tutte le
power
clienti.
to meet all the needs
Parliamo
of our
anche della
customers.
filosofia less is more,
But now
perché
let's
appunto parliamo
also
del
talk
less,
about the
che
less is more
significa che abbiamo
philosophy. So
eliminato ciò
less
che non è
means that
essenziale,
we
ma allo stesso
eliminated
tempo
everything
parliamo
that
di
was not
more
essential, but at the
perché
same time
abbiamo
we talk about
imparato a usare al
more
massimo il
because we
potenziale
learned
dalla
to
natura,
use the
perché è veramente
maximum potential
importante
from nature
essere
because it
pochi
is
ingredienti ma
absolutely
che
very
funzionano alla
important to
perfezione.
have just a few ingredients that
Abbiamo
work
appunto
perfectly
anche
well.
ridotto l'impatto, perché
And
appunto
we
avendo meno
also
ingredienti
reduced
e che
our
funzionano,
impact because we've
riusciamo
got
ad avere
less
un prodotto
ingredients
molto
that work very
affidabile
well, so we can
in
have
tutti i
an
casi.
ultra
Quindi quando
reliable
utilizziamo quel prodotto, che
product
sia
in
un
all
colore, che
cases.
sia il
So when we use
tonalizzante
a
o che
product,
sia
whether it
una
is
maschera,
a
uno
color,
shampoo,
a toner, a
abbiamo delle
mask, or a
certezze.
shampoo,
Parliamo anche di
we are
etica,
sure about what we
perché
use.
appunto
Then we
vengono
also
dette
talk
avere
about
meno
ethics
impatto
because,
sulla
as I said
natura, perché
before, we
appunto
have a less of a
eliminiamo
footprint
anche
on
tutto
nature.
quello che c'è al di
We have a
fuori.
reduced
Abbiamo anche
impact.
rispetto
We
del pianeta,
remove
perché abbiamo
everything that
appunto
is
anche
outside,
il tubo
and
piuttosto biodegradabile
we
o
are
con
also
plastica
environmentally
riciclata.
friendly with our
Parliamo
planet
di
because we
essenzialità,
have
perché
a tube
parliamo
that is
appunto di
biodegradable or made
H24,
with recycled
biodegradabilità,
plastics.
di
Then we talk about
ecosostenibilità
essentiality because
dell'ecologia,
we talk
ma
about high
senza
percentages of
dimenticare la nostra
biodegradability,
professionalità. Quindi
eco-sustainability, as I said
qualsiasi
before,
prodotto che
without
utilizziamo
giving up our
veramente dà
professionalism.
certezza.
So every product that we use
Questo qua
is
è un video per
a
introdurvi la
certainty.
linea
This is a
ECOS Line
video to
Vegan Way,
introduce
dove parliamo di
the
natura,
line, the
di
coastline, the vegan
bellezza e
way, where we talk
soprattutto io
about
parlo anche di
nature,
leggerezza,
beauty,
perché
and
qualsiasi
lightness.
prodotto che utilizziamo
Because
aiuta a
every
sentirci
product
più
that we
tranquilli e più
use
leggeri.
make us feel much lighter, much freer.
Kind of love this right now. I really feel I am flying, releasing my troubles. And although you're so far, I really feel we're entwined. We'll wait till it's right for us to be looking at the stars from a balcony, wondering about what the future will bring. Oh, we'll have made it so far, looking at each other and knowing how we've been through a lifetime. Here we are now. Oh, we made it this far. You'll do what you need.
Ecco, questa è la famiglia di ECOS Line, che appunto
This
parla
is
di
the
natura,
ECOSLine family. So we
di
are talking
etica,
about nature, we are talking about
parla di
ethics,
tantissimo. Per esempio,
we are
quando
talking about
qualche anno
so many
fa
different
uscì ECOS
things.
Line
So, for
nel mio salone,
example,
perché io ho un
when
salone a
I
Torino,
introduced the
ho voluto
ECOSLine
scrivere sopra
in
una
my salon,
postazione, per
because I've got a
esempio,
salon in Turin,
benvenuti nel nostro nuovo mondo, e ho voluto
I
spiegare quella filosofia
decided
di ECOS
to
Line,
write on
perché
each
secondo me
chair,
potrebbe
Welcome to
essere
our
anche
new
un
world.
passo in più
And I wanted to explain the philosophy of ECHOS. This is a further step forward for sustainability, for matters, for nature. But it is also important to explain our philosophy to our customers because it may be good to embrace this philosophy altogether. But now let's talk about this ECHOS family and how all the products work. Here we've got hair, which is made up of cuticles, cortex, the medulla. So in this case, we can talk about direct dyes that stay on the outside of the hair, so they rest on the cuticles and they leave a very bright color, yet they are very light. Then we also have semi-permanent colors, like the toners of Carbon9. We replace them with an even more performing product, but they were a little bit more on the surface, so they were slightly under the cuticles. Nowadays we've got ECHOS lights that are demi-permanent colors. They go deeper, so they are more performing, but they have a no lift action because they do not lift the natural base of the hair. And then we have permanent colors that go into the cortex of the hair, and they are called ECHOS color. This chart makes us understand exactly how the products by ECHOS work. But now let's talk about the numerical system behind the color charts that we have, or in our presentations. Probably you noticed that we have our color wheel. It helps us a lot for our consultation with customers because we can understand all the color families, and it also helps us understand what kind of color we do. So each color has got a number, which is the base color, and after the point we have either one or two colors that are called tones. So 1 point, so we've got black, then we've got 3, which is a dark brown, we've got a 4, which is a brown, and 5, which is a light brown. And then we move to the blondes. So we have a 6, that is a dark blonde, 7, that is a blonde, 8 is a light blonde, 9 is a very light blonde, and then is a platinum blonde. After the point we have the reflections or the tones. There could be 1 or 2. The first number after the point is the main, the primary tone, and the second one is the tone with a lower percentage. If it is repeated, it means that we've got an intensified tone. If instead there is another number, it means that one tone supports the other. So when we talk about 10.0, we have a platinum blonde that is neutral. If we have a 0.1, that is equal to blue ash. If we are talking about 9.11, we are talking about a very light blonde with a blue ash tone that is very intense. If we talk about 0.2, we are talking about a purple or a lilac. If we talk about 0.3, we are talking about a golden. If we talk about a 4.4, we have an orange or a copper. Then 5 is mahogany, 6 is red, and we also have 6.66, which is one of the most intense red colors that we have. Then 0.7 is brown, and 0.8 is a green ash. So it is a cool color. When we talk about this numerical system, it is a general numbering system to be able to read this color wheel. But now let's talk about color up. These are essential because they help us complete different technical works and improve them. So why do we use color up? We've got lots of shades. We've got neutral colors and neutral shades. For example, the no yellow or the gold, or we have fashion colors that could include violet, red, intense red, and they cover all the categories. How can we use them? We can use them after coloring the hair to improve the shine and the softness of the hair. In the salon, I designed a color style. It is an extra service. So basically it's not just the styling, but after the shampoo, I apply a color up mask and I do this service. It is a service that includes a color mask plus styling. So we can also use it as a retail product, especially when we've got a customer who comes to our salon every month to do an intense red. These colors are very performing, but if we've got a customer that goes to the swimming pool every day, the red may fade away, or if we use hot tools like flat irons, then colors may fade away. So if customers want to do red, there's no problem at all, but at home, once a week, customers can refresh their color with a red color up. Or if we wanted to personalize the service even more, we can mix color ups to create a unique color. So if we wanted to create a chocolate that is even warmer, because a customer maybe would like to change color, we can mix up chocolate color up with the red color up, so we can create an even different service on the person. As you can see, we can use them in lots of different ways. Color ups contain 3 active ingredients that are very important. Vitamin E, which is an antioxidant. It helps us keep the color alive and bright for a long time. Then we've got honey, which has got a nourishing and polishing effect, and then milk proteins, helping us to restore energy and strength, because when we use color ups, we can use them both on natural hair, but also on bleached or colored hair. How do we use the color ups? We wash the hair, we do 1 or 2 shampoos, the shampoo that we prefer from the ECHOS line, then we towel dry the hair, and after wearing our gloves, we apply a certain quantity of product. We can put it a little bit more or a little bit less according to the quantity of hair. So we don't have to massage the product too much. We have to apply it, comb it through, and we let it process. Processing time may vary from 3 minutes because these colors have got an immediate action on the hair, but we can leave it there up to 15 minutes if we want to have a very intense effect. So after 3, 10 or 15 minutes, we can wash them and then we can continue with our styling. It is a very quick product. So if we do it together with the coloring or a bleaching service, it doesn't take much time to do it. But now let's talk about the ECHOS color line. Before explaining all the families, let's talk about the peroxides, because we need all the types of peroxides that are available to cover the whole category. We range from 7 volumes to 40 volumes. 7 volumes are used to tone the hair if we wanted to create a tone-on-tone effect. We use them if we wanted to tone a color, or if we use ECHOS light to complete the service after lifting the hair. And then we've got 10 volumes, so we can do tone on tone with them, or they slightly lift up from 0 to 1 level on finer hair. Then 20 volumes are ideal to cover the grays, or to lift from 1 to 2 levels. Then 30 volumes have been designed to cover the grays, and they can lift from 2 to 3 levels. And we can use them on high lift products for the lightest bases. Then 40 volumes are ideal for lifting from 3 to 4 levels, and they are ideal to be used for high lift products also on the darkest bases from 5 to 6, and they can also be used for all the bleaching products that we have within ECHOS line, because they make the product creamy, not too liquid, so we can easily distribute it on the hair, also with the freehand technique. But why do we sometimes have problems with the coverage? Because the coverage of the grays needs a specific processing time. When we leave the product there to process for just 20 minutes and it doesn't develop fully the cool pigment or the pigment that we want, well, this is because in the vast majority of cases we made a mistake with the processing time, because each peroxide needs a specific processing time to lift, and then a specific processing time to oxidize the pigment. But I would like to explain myself better. Talking about peroxide with 7 volumes, we are talking about tone on tone, so we do not need to lift the hair, maybe just at the beginning. So if we leave the product, if we let the product process for 20 minutes, we do not give enough time to it to oxidize the whole pigment. So if we do, for example, a 744 with 7 volumes on a base 7, we will see that the copper pigment has not been fully developed. If we let it there for even 25 minutes, we will see that the pigment has got enough time to develop, and therefore we will see a much more performing result. At the same time, 20 volumes work in a similar way. So when we use a 744 with 20 volumes, well, we need 10 minutes to lift, but also 25 minutes to deposit the pigment. If we left the 744 with 20 volumes for just 25 minutes, then pigments will not fully develop on the hair, so we will not see a 100% performance. Therefore, when we prepare ECHOS color with 20 volumes, please remember that it has a processing time of 35 minutes. Mixing ratio is 1 to 1.5. So out of 50 grams of color, we need to add 75 grams of peroxide. Let's now see how the 40 volumes work. So with 40 volumes, we lift a lot, so we need a processing time of 45 minutes. In the first 20 minutes, it lifts the hair, but it also needs 25 minutes to oxidize and deposit the pigment. So when we recommend or when we use a color, hairdressers must comply with these processing times, because in the vast majority of cases, when we see that the color is not performing, it is because we do not have enough, we did not leave it there for enough time, so the processing time is not correct. But now let's talk about the ECHOS color line. This is a range that covers all the needs of the color world, because we are talking about gentleness. It reduces the scalp sensitivity, because in its formula it is free, it is PPD free and resorcinol free. These are two substances that may make the scalp sensitive, but after doing a color, in this case, customers will not have the soreness, but in actual fact, they will feel the scalp much lighter. And then we talk about the safety, because the color allows to preserve, protect the scalp, but also the hair fiber. They are fully protected during the whole coloring process. And then we also talk about guaranteed results, because we have a high percentage of concentrated pigments that give power to develop a color, and we can go from all the different shades, from intense red to a gentle, a light red, or an intense copper to a light copper. So in the color chart, we've got the quantities of pigments that help us meet all the needs. This is the tube of tint, as I said before. So we use it with a mixing ratio of 1 to 1.5 with the peroxide by ECHOS. Then we've got the vegan OK. It is a vegan OK range, which means that it contains vegan ingredients. It is PPD free, resorcinol free, so we can use this product also on very sensitive scalps. Then we have a recycled tube. It can be recycled, and it is made up of recycled materials, and then it contains 3 main active ingredients: the date oil, the tsubaki oil, which gives shine on the lens and ends, and then the green tea extract, which is a natural antioxidant, and it extends the longevity of the color. So not only we're talking about intensity of the pigment, but also about the longevity.
Appunto, come abbiamo detto, queste qua sono molto importante comunque sottolineare che non hanno queste due sostanze, perché sono proprio le sostanze.
It is PPD free and resorcinol free. It is important to state it, because these are substances that provoke allergies on the scalp.
I profumi che si trovano all'interno.
Here we have the fragrances
del tubo di colore, perché appunto
that are found in the tube of tint.
Quando andate a mescolare il colore, non dà
when you mix the color,
che a noi quando lo andiamo a
it doesn't create soreness, and it's not bad for us, for the hairdressers.
la menta e l'eucalipto, perché danno anche
The top notes are green mint and eucalyptus, and they give a soothing effect when we apply the product, not only when we apply it because we breathe it, but also it soothes the skin. And then we also have some other notes that give a feeling of gentleness to both the customers and us. Here we've got an overview of all the families that we have. We've got naturals and ice. We also have cool or natural colors. We've got intense copper or natural coppers, or we've got gold, copper and red, and then the creative and blonde. The whole color chart by ECHOS covers also without the natural base. It is important to explain every color family and how to make it more performing. By the way, do you have any questions? If you have any questions, please write them in the chat box. Now, let's talk about each color family. Let's talk about the naturals. This is a range that we can use on its own to have a maximum coverage of the grays. And we can use it also in different ways. For example, if we wanted to obtain a 643, if we have 40% of gray hair, we can use 40 grams of 643 and 10 grams of 60 with 75 grams of peroxide with 20 volumes to have a natural and perfect coverage. If we have 100% of gray hair, we can use 30 grams of 643 and 20 grams of 60 with 70 grams of peroxide with 20 volumes to have a better coverage. If we wanted to have a more vibrant color, we could use also 643 with 20 volumes with a mixing ratio 1 to 1.5. But if we wanted to have a deeper coverage on 100% of grays, we can have 20 grams of base to have a deeper coverage. Also, if we have hair that is difficult to cover, we can use the extra intense. Basically, all the colors that range from 44.0, 55.0, 66.0, that helps us create depth and coverage on difficult hair. If we want to obtain an 832 on hair that is quite thick and 100% gray, we can put 15 grams of 880 and 35 grams of 832 with 75 grams of peroxide with 20 volumes, 35 minutes of processing time. In this case, we can create a more vibrant color because we've got a percentage that is higher than 832, but then we also have a coverage thanks to 88.0. This range of colors allows us to have a perfect coverage on lighter hair as well. This is not so given for granted. Let's talk about ice naturals. This is a category that is very important because we are talking about cool natural colors for a complete coverage. Specifically, I would recommend it to use it on salt and pepper hair because it gives a more natural coverage, or on those who starts having gray hair. If on those who have a low percentage of grays, we use the 7.0, we will risk to have a perfect coverage of the grays, but the natural hair may get warmer tones. Instead, if we apply a 7.0 ice with a mixing ratio 1 to 1.5 with 20 volumes, we will give a natural coverage on the grays. And on natural hair, we will cool the color down. So we will take away part of the red melanins and we will get a more natural, less warm effect. This is what customers want. Let's talk about the extra cold range. It is a very versatile range because it helps us neutralize the orange and red effects. And we know that in the vast majority of cases, customers do not want them. So we can use it on its own, on a percentage, on a medium percentage of gray hair, because if we use it on a high percentage of gray hair, it fully covers it, but it may create some very cool effects. If, for example, we want a base 6.0 natural, and there is a percentage of 50% of grays, we can use 20 grams of 6 eyes and 30 grams of 6.11 with 30 volumes. So we lift the base, the natural base, if we wanted to lift it, of course, but at the same time we neutralize all the unwanted red tones that were created after lifting. If we have a natural base, with a level 5 and we wanted to reach a natural 7, if we apply the 7 with 30 volumes, we will risk to have unwanted cool tones. So in this case, we need to apply 30 grams of 7 eyes and 20 grams of 711 with peroxide with either 20 or 30 volumes according to the type of hair, whether it is fine or not. And in this case, we would obtain a 7 natural without warm tones underneath. So the 0.11 extra cool range is essential to neutralize red or orange tones because they have the intensity of a cool color that is very pigmented.
Claudio, scusa, c'è una domanda in chat.
Claudia, there is a question in the chat
Allora,
box.
Rita chiede,
Rita is asking, good morning. With the extra intense line, do you think that the hair stays darker? Visually speaking, it may seem darker, but simply because there is a higher percentage of pigment inside. But they are very loyal to what is written in the color chart. So if we apply, for example, a 66.0 instead of 6.0, we may tell the customers that the color may look darker, but it's not like that. It is simply because inside there is more pigment to cover the grays. So it looks darker, but in actual fact it is not. It reflects what there is in the color chart. When I use it, I always recommend to say it. I hope I managed to answer your question. Then there is another question, Claudia. Can you hear me?
Una base 6 naturale,
on a natural base 6 and 10% of grays, I would like 611. What do you do to avoid unwanted orange tones and cover the grays? Okay, so we start from a base 6 and there is a low percentage of grays. Well, yes, you can apply 611 with 10 volumes if the hair is fine because it has got a natural coverage. It doesn't alter the melanins of the hair. But if we wanted to have a total coverage, we can apply 711 with 20 volumes. We let it process for 35 minutes and we will always have a cool tone. If we wanted to intensify the tone even more, we can add pure colors together. And moving forward, we have a pure color, so we've got ash. So we can add it to 6.11 when we've got a low percentage of grays to create an even more intense tone.
Se ho risposto alla domanda, io vado avanti. Se invece ci
sono altre domande, I answer your question, I can move forward, but if you have any questions, you can write them in the chat box.
Parliamo invece della linea Cold Irisé.
Let's talk about the Cold Irisé line. It is a very bright range because it allows us to neutralize orange or red colors. So when we talk about the 0.11 range, we are talking about red orange tones, while the 0.12 is used to neutralize yellow orange tones. It is a range that covers the grays at 100%, and we can use it to cover much more with the eyes, for example, to give a natural effect to white hair. So if we want, for example, a 7.12 with a natural base 5 with 50% of grays, we can use 20 grams of 7 eyes to give a natural coverage of the grays and 30 grams of 712 with 20 volumes of pure oxide for 35 minutes. In this case, we obtain a cool iris effect, which is natural, and we cover the grays at the same time. Also, with this line, if we wanted to tone the hair after doing some highlights, we can use it to tone, bleach the hair to obtain a platinum cool effect without gray effects on the hair. So it is a perfect line to tone, but at the same time we leave the hair particularly natural, particularly shiny. Then we also have the beige natural line. It is an ideal range for me. I use it all the times to tone golden tones for those who want to have a natural effect but not a yellow effect, or I can use it to repigment blonde. It may happen, or it happened to many hairdressers, that a customer is already blonde and she wants to have a tone 6. If we apply the tone directly on the lens, then we will have some unwanted effects. Maybe they are cool effects or greenish with certain colors, but with ECHOS it should not happen. But if we wanted to have a more natural effect without having unwanted tones, we could use 613 with either 7 or 10 volumes to repigment the hair, and the hair would look very shiny with no unwanted tones, so very natural. Then we also have the cold brown range. It is a range for the coverage. It leaves a natural tone, which is not red, because we may have customers or hairdressers who say, I want a chocolate but not red when they lay in the sun. So this is the right range to do that. If we have a natural base that is a 5 with 60% of grays, and we want to obtain 6.7 cool on roots and lens. On the roots, we can apply 15 grams of 6 eyes and 35 grams of 6 cool with 20 volumes. And on the lens, we could apply 6.7 cold pure with 10 volumes or 7 volumes to give a cooler and more natural effect. In this case, the customer will never see red inside. And then warm browns, they are 0.72. These are elegant brown colors that give a 3D effect, and they are used to create low lights on the ends. I use it on customers who wanted to have a brown effect that is not too warm. So I can use it to cover the grays, and on the lens and ends to give to obtain a natural and 3D effect. Then we talk about natural colors with non-cool effects. So we've got poor brown and poor sand. These two types of color are ideal to cover the grays, but also the salt and pepper effect. If you have an almost gray effect on the hair and you want to neutralize it, you can use these lines. Or they are ideal to repigment a blonde that is too light without unwanted tones. So let's say I am on a base 10.3 or 10.11 and I want to have a brighter effect, a more natural effect. I just need to apply 10.7 with 10 volumes or 7 volumes on the lens to have a uniform effect without tones that are either too warm or too cool. Let's now talk about nude beige. We've got 3 colors, 832, 932 and 1032. They are used as hybrid colors. They are used to lift natural hair, or they can be used to lift copper hair to avoid red tones. So well started, because when we lift a hair, we do a copper, sometimes we create unwanted red tones. If we used with 744 a part of 832 on the roots, we would remove those unwanted red-orange tones, and we will create a much brighter effect. For example, I may have a base which is a 7.33 and I want to get a 744. If I applied only 744 with 10 volumes on the roots, I would risk to have orange tones or orange red tones, because I have a golden hair underneath. If instead I applied 40 grams of 744 and 10 grams of 8.32, I would light the color up and I would have a more natural effect, and not an orange red or not a bright orange. So the final color would be much more delicate, much more gentle. Let's also talk about warm, natural and pure gold ranges. These are ranges for those who want to have a golden effect without getting a yellow effect. They are used to give light, especially at winter, because sometimes we've got customers or hairdressers that at winter they see dull hair. They could get dull because of the pollution, or maybe there is no light. So if we did some toning, some light toning with 0.3, we would give a much more gentle effect, golden, but there is no yellow. Now let's talk about copper wood, pure copper or copper gold. These are ranges that are warm, coppery, but gentle. So when we wanted to give a more natural golden effect, we can use these 3 main ranges to give a copper effect without having a too strong effect, which is good for people who've never done copper. And then we also have the extra intense orange copper, so they allow to have fashion effects that we will not be able to obtain in any other ways. So if we wanted to obtain a pure 844 copper that is not red, we can use 844 with 10 volumes on an already lifted hair, and we will get a uniform intense copper effect. We could use pure color, as we said before, with a cool color, if we wanted to play with colors and personalize the service. We also have intense pure red colors, super intense red. They are amazing colors because we can use them also on dark bases, or when we wanted to lift them, we can get intense bright red color. If we have a natural base of 4 and we wanted to obtain a 666, we can use 50 grams of 666 with 30 volumes 1 to 1.5 to have a perfect bright red. Or we may have a base 8.3 and we wanted to obtain a 6.66, a uniform color. We can do 50 grams of 666 and 75 grams of peroxide with 10 volumes for 30 to 35 minutes, and we will get a uniform color without the base and a fire red.
Ciao Claudia, scusami, ci sono delle domande in chat.
Claudia, there are some questions in the chat box.
C'è una domanda su Color Up.
Well, there is a question about the color up. If I have dark hair and if I use a red color from Color Up,
un effetto di colore quanto dura?
so can I say that it gives a color effect? How long will it last? Well, if I've got a customer with a base 5 or 6, red could be visible. On a level 4 or darker, it's not that visible. So if I've got a customer who's got a base 5 and she's never colored her hair, can I use the red color? Oh, I can use the red color up to show that she can have a mild, a delicate tone. It's not that visible. Maybe you see it in the sunlight, but it gives a light effect. Was that the question? Did I answer the question?
Questa è la domanda, però ce ne sono anche
Yes.
altre.
That was the question, but there are some other questions. And what about the longevity? The longevity depends on so many things. Well, for example, normally it lasts from 4 to 6 washes. It depends on what she does at home, how she uses it. But if you let it process for 15 minutes, it may last 6 washes. If you let it process for 5 to 10 minutes, it may last 10 washes. I used it with when I wanted to do some fashion colors, when I was not fully convinced to be pink, for example. So if I like playing with colors, I can use the color ups because they fade away in a natural way. And after a month, I can play with other colors.
Perfetto. Ci sono anche altre domande, giusto?
Perfect. Are there any other questions?
Esatto, ci sono altre domande.
Yes, there are some other questions.
Allora,
For example, you said 50 grams of color on 100% white hair, 20 grams of natural base and 30 grams of tone. Yes, generally speaking, yes. I usually use much more base as compared to the tone so that the regrowth is not so visible. Maybe 40 grams of base plus 10 grams of tone. Am I doing something wrong? No, because you can have a better coverage, but if you want to obtain a more vibrant color, with a higher tone,
diciamo che bisogna fare molta attenzione perché se nei centimetri successivi, quindi
you can alternate it, but you have to pay attention because if you've got a natural base in the first 3 centimeters, you have a medium coverage of the grays, but in the next 3 centimeters, you may see transparency. So you can invert the color with the tone. You can do more tone and less color. It depends on what you have on the lens and ends. But please use these colors even with the lower base if you have a light color on the ends because they cover on their own, or even if you have just a small quantity of base.
Ci sono anche altre domande?
Sì.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Laura is asking 6.402 on lens and ends with 7 volumes.
402, giusto hai detto?
You mean?
402 su lunghezza.
Well, she said 6.402 on lens and ends with 7 volumes. 15 minutes of processing time. It stays dull. what was wrong? Well, the processing time, as we said at the beginning, if we do not give the right time to the pigment to develop, then the color may look dull. It's not wrong if you want to have a very light color, but if you have the maximum power of the color, you can use 6.402 with 7 volumes on the lens and ends, but you have to let it process for 20-25 minutes. Better 25 minutes to have more luminosity. Then it depends on what there is underneath. If she has a level 6, you can let it process, but if she has a dull color, it's better to remove the color slightly and then apply 6.402 on top of that, but please remember that the processing time must be 25 minutes to make it even shiner. Are there any other questions? Yes, Rita is asking. On the lens, when they lost the tone, how is it possible to have more brightness? Well, there are lots of different ways. We can apply the tone on top of that with clear, because we also have the clear, because this allows not to overload the tone when there is not much tone missing, or we can use 744 with 7 volumes, 1 to 1.5 with 7 volumes to fill the tone up. Or if there is not, the color is not faded away a lot, we can use the copper mask to give brightness.
Io appunto parlo adesso per esempio dei colori, poi abbiamo
I'm talking about colors, but then we also have ECHOS lights that we're going to see in the next webinars, and they give different tones to the hair. So I'm talking about the solutions with colors and on colors. Are there any other questions?
Non ci sono altre domande, Claudia.
No, not at the moment. I hope I managed to answer all your questions, but otherwise, you can send your questions by email, or you can contact me directly.
Allora, andiamo avanti. Abbiamo parlato dei rossi.
Let's move on. We talked about intense red colors, and then we've got fashion colors that are mahogany and violet, so that we can have cooler tones. We have very intense colors. They can be used to cover the grays if you want a cool color, or they can be used on the lens to have a much brighter color and very cool color. Let's now talk about another category that is very special, pure blonde. Here we've got 2 colors that are very cool, ideal to tone from a level 9 or 10 that was lifted. So these 2 types of colors are used for coverage with the 10 eyes to give a very cool effect, or to tone colors without losing the shine. If we have a base 6 with a percentage of grays equal to 70%, and we wanted to have a tone 11.72, we apply 30 grams of 11.72 with 20 grams of 10.0 eyes with 40 volumes, and we will obtain an effect with the coverage of the grays at 100%, yet very cool without losing the shine. And then there is one last category, that is the extra lift. So we have just a few shades, and we need just a few of them to have bright effects. I always recommend them to use them on a natural base, 6 or 5, when we're talking about fine hair. So we can use it with either 30 volumes or 40 volumes, and they are mixed up with a mixing ratio of 1:2 with these two types of peroxides. So 12.0 has got no tone inside, and it can be used together with colors to make it lighter. For example, if I have a base 6 and I want to have a 10.3, I can use 30 grams of 1222, which is the coolest color, and 20 grams of 12-0 with 100 grams of peroxide with 40 volumes, and the processing time is 15 minutes. This is the minimum time required to develop all the pigments and leave the color as natural as possible. So the processing time of the high lift product is fundamental. In my salon, I leave it there for even 55 minutes. High lift products work based also on the quantity of product that is added, so it's important to put the right quantity and spread it all over the hair, because you know, it may happen that some areas are warmer because there is less product, but if there is darker hair at the back and lighter hair at the front, it is always better to start from the back, so you will have to apply the color from the back. This is the level of oxidation. As I said before, high lift products work in the opposite way as compared to the color. They need more time to lift the hair and less time to deposit the pigment. But if we left it there for 30 minutes only, we will not give enough time to the pigment to develop. So in the end, we will get a too warm color. Then we also have the pure color range, as we said before. They can be used exactly as a color. So we use them on their own as they are with the different peroxides to have fashion effects. We can use indigo on a natural base with 30 volumes to create beautiful effects, very light effects, and we can lift the base underneath by 2 levels, or we can use it together with cool colors to get an even cooler effect, as we said before, even with ash. Earlier we gave you the example of a 6.11. If we added 5 grams of ash with 20 volumes or 10 volumes, well, in that case we will get an even cooler color. Laura, are there any other questions?
Al momento non ci sono domande.
At the moment, there are no questions. Perfect. Then we also have the wisteria. It is a gentle fashion color that is used to tone, even if you have a base 10. If you use it with 10 volumes on a bleached base, then you will get these effects as we can see in the color chart. But now let's talk about advice on post-color maintenance. Let's talk about the color care range. It is an amazing range. It includes a shampoo, a mask, and a spray, a sealing spray, and it can be used as a maintenance at home so that we extend the longevity. Or for blonde or for light brown, there is the no yellow line because we have the shampoo, the mask, the spray for fragile and fine hair that helps us keep the cool color for a longer period of time. The shampoo can be used and can be left there for 10 minutes so that we can have a cooler effect. And then for the styling, we have the whipped cream, hydrating whipped cream. It is a leave-in conditioning mousse. ideal for all types of hair, and ideal for moisturizing the lengths and ends without making the hair very heavy. It can be used after the mask without waving the hair down. Then we also have the heat protector spray, ideal for blonde hair, because we know that if we do a cool blonde and then we apply the flat iron, then we may make the tones much more yellow. Instead, if we use a heat protector on dry hair before applying the flat iron, then we can create a protective film on the hair, and the hair will not get golden. But we need to be very careful when we work with hot tools on very cool colors. And then there is a diamond shield. It is a fantastic product because you spray it on dry hair to give an immediate shine. Customers can use it every day at home, or I can use it on curly or on curly hair to detangle the hair. So before brushing curly hair, I can apply Diamond Shield because it makes the hair much easier to comb through. I hope I was clear enough. I don't know whether you have any questions. Or maybe do I need to clarify any information? Yeah, Laura is asking, in order to create a much long-lasting pastel pink as compared to color up, what do you recommend? Well, if you wanted to obtain a pink, you can use pure colors, so you can put a white part of clear with a small part of red, and you will get a beautiful pink with 7 volumes on the lens and ends. If you want to make it even cooler, you can add a small percentage of wisteria or violet to make it cooler. So it really depends on the base that we have underneath. If we have a golden base, we can use, for example, 40 grams of clear, of transparent, 5 grams of red and 2 grams of wisteria to cool it down. If we have an already cool base, we can use 45 grams of transparent and 5 grams of red. The only thing that I can recommend is to test these colors on a testing section. So either you have some swatches and you do some tests, or just use one section so that you know what to do on the customer. And then it is also important to recommend maintenance masks to avoid colors to fade away. Are there any other questions?
Non ci sono altre domande, Claudia.
No, there are no other questions. I hope I was clear enough. But we can also have other Q&A sessions in the next webinars. Please note down your questions. And I would like to invite you to the next appointments. We will meet again on the 2nd of March. We will talk about practice and problem solving. So in these weeks, you can try what we said today, and we can have a Q&A session. And then there are some other webinars, and we can answer to your questions as well. Thank you very much again, and have a good day.